You guys know we really focus on our health, and right now that includes our dogs, Jeff and Steve, because we want them to feel their best too. Jeff and Steve are constantly itching, and we learned that this isn't normal dog behavior. It's actually a sign of allergies. That's right, your dogs can have allergies too. Just like humans, dogs need probiotics to strengthen their gut health and calm an overactive immune system. That's why we use Better Wild Allergy Relief Soft Chews, a supplement designed to support your pet's allergy defense by strengthening digestion. They're the first and only chews with ancestral advantage wolf probiotics inspired by your dog's mighty ancestor, the wolf, to help restore a healthy balance of good bacteria in their gut. The key ingredients are a premium blend of wolf probiotics called the Ancestral Advantage, designed to rewild your dog's gut. L-Sacii, a postbiotic derived from kimchi that's been clinically proven to reduce itchiness and redness in just 2 months with daily use. Colostrum to boost immune function and fight inflammation, and salmon oil to support healthy skin and fur. Watching Jeff and Steve struggle with allergies was tough, but adding Better Wild Allergy Relief Soft Chews has been a game changer. Few symptoms, happy pups, and peace of mind for us. Better Wild is committed to helping your dog with science-backed, veterinarian-approved solutions that you can feel great about. Right now, Better Wild is offering our listeners up to 40% off your order at betterwild.com/VIALL. That is betterwild.com/VIALL for 40% off your first order. That's betterwild.com/VIALL. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Viall Files Reality Recap Edition. I'm your host, Nick, joined by my wonderful, gorgeous wife, Natalie Joy. I'm rushing a little bit because, guys, we have one of the most jam-packed episodes we've ever had, and we've had a lot, but boy, do we have a lot of great content for you. We have Jay Manuel with us to talk about the documentary Reality Check that covers America's Next Top Model.
Number one on Netflix right now.
Everyone is talking about it, and he is definitely one of the main characters of that documentary. We have Jay with us, which we are very excited to unpack all of your burning questions. We also have Ashley from Love is Blind to talk about the pods and her relationship with Alex, along with all the other drama going on in the Love is Blind season 10 season. And Monique Samuels from Real Housewives of Potomac. We got the reunion going on right now, and she joins us to break down her thoughts on this very great season of the Real Housewives of Potomac. So lots coming your way. We got Susie here in the household. We got Justin on the couch. Finally, he's back.
Mary, pink hair.
Yeah.
Mary's hair is looking great. So much to get into. Also, do not forget that Viall Files is going live. If you want to, we are finally doing a live show, and we're teaming up with Netflix as a joke to host a live event with the upcoming cast of Temptation Island. So it's going to be sexy, raunchy, fun, full of drama. Bring your friends, bring your girlfriends, your partner. It's a great, fun night out. Join us. Tickets are now available. Let's go to the link in bio to get those tickets. It's May 6th. And don't forget, Viall Files Plus is now ad-free. And you get some amazing content like our reality recap deep dives, where we dive even deeper on some of your favorite reality recap shows like Love is Blind and the America's Next Top Model documentary, as well as your update special, all your favorite updates on your favorite Ask Nick calls and your Pop Extra episodes. So be sure to check that out. Just go to viallfiles.com and you will be glad that you did. All right. I think, Susie, I'm really excited to get into the America's Next Top Model conversation with you as a fellow reality TV castmate. But before we do, I want to, let's talk a little Summer House before we get to some of these other shows. This was quite the episode. The Kyle and Amanda of it all, it's like, I don't want to like always have the guy side. That's, but I will say with an audience that's primarily women, I am willing to just have, just to try to see a point of view of the men out there. And like, with West, back in the day, I understood at least partly where West was coming from. But with Kyle, it's so painful to watch this relationship go down in flames. How can he not connect the dots between what his wife is trying to communicate to him? And he's so reactive. Like every time she's just like, the drinking. He keeps acting like that's like a scapegoat. And it's so frustrating. And I wish one of his boys would check him.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a hard watch. And I'll be honest, I'm new to Summer House, but I'm deep on TikTok. So I feel like I'm a little bit aware. And watching the episode, I think if I hadn't been on TikTok and like seen scenes from previous seasons, I could have bought in a little bit to like, dang, like she's really being hard on him and it seems like she just doesn't care. But just knowing what I know, I feel like she's just a woman that is so over it. Like she's at the point where it's like, I personally kind of relate to this just from my personal life, from past relationships, where it's like at some point, like one person's showing up in the relationship and sometimes it's the other person. And at this point, it's neither of them. Like neither of them are fighting for it. And she has bent at the knee, it seems like, for years. She has like let go of her boundaries for the past 7 years or whatever they've been together, like making exceptions for him and him being out and with everything they've been through. And I'm just like watching her and I'm like, I know what it feels like to be that woman where you're like, I'm over this and I'm not interested in like tiptoeing around this. I'm going to be mean to you. Like,
yeah,
I don't have the patience. I don't have the capacity to like walk you through this and like spoon feed you through this anymore. And like, I feel bad for her.
At one point he said, and I quote, I was the least fucked up person there. As if like,
that's a flex.
You know, imagine being married to someone for years and like, it's great. You're an extrovert. You're a socialite. You like going out. That's not a crime. But like to the degree in which he continues to think that's okay. And it's not even like he's going out most nights, but he's home by midnight. It's like it sounds like he's going out often. And when he does, it's all night long, you know? And I know as like someone who's a little bit more of an introvert, but like, you know, once you're in a committed relationship, I just, you know, when you're in a committed relationship, it's nice to get out every once in a while. And I'm not saying just because you're in a committed relationship, you can't go out to the bars with your friends because you're doing something wrong. But like, there's only so much hanging with the boys you can do before like eventually you are putting yourself in compromising situations where being friendly and flirty is a very thin line. And it's just like, that's why a lot of people who get into committed relationships like lose that desire to go out all the time, because it's like they realize so much about going out was flirting and meeting people, the sex in which you are attracted to, you know? And it's just the fact that I get that Kyle's an extrovert and he goes out, but he is not willing to make any compromises for her. And like when Kyle says things like, I'm like, I just, nothing I can do is right. And I'm trying so hard. I just wish one of his boys, like West, who's like, Kyle needs some like hard coaching. Like, be like, that's not your best. If that's your best, that's some weak ass shit. Like, it's just like, you got to show up for your partner when your partner is just like, yo, can you please not do X, Y, or Z? He just throws a temper tantrum. He like stomps his feet and it was like, I can't believe you're asking me that. And it's just like, how you would just think someone would be like, yo, like, how do you watch this back and like not be a little kind of embarrassed about it?
I feel like Carl did try to say something right after the dinner when he did storm off, because Carl was like, just stop.
Yeah.
Gently.
Like, just stop.
Gently, in the soft boy Carl way.
But yeah, to your point, Nick, Kyle's walking away from each of these conversations, putting it on Amanda. Like he said at the apology dunes or whatever they called it, he was like, I don't even know who I married, and like stormed off. And it's like,
he called her
boring and like
lazy, boring. I don't know. That was some
he said
mean
she needed
ass
to get
shit,
a
and he lost his shit because. And again, maybe this was edited out, but he accused Amanda of calling him an alcoholic, which I didn't hear those words at all.
Right.
She obviously mentioned the drinking, but when your defense is, I'm the least fucked up person there.
His response to that was also, you lead me to the drink, which is
crazy.
Right.
Like, not something someone says if they don't have a problem with drinking.
I think what Susie said was exactly what it is they've both dropped the filter and they're all saying what we've heard in between the lines every other season. Like, she's talking about the cheating and she's not fully denying it. He's bringing up, like, they're just bringing up things that they've clearly had struggles over.
No, I mean, I get it, but at least with Amanda's, it's like, okay, shit, if that's happening, I totally get you. I just like...
No, it's like...
I can't understand where Kyle's coming from.
I agree.
And
it's like one person's talking about, this is how I saw it. I was like, one person's talking about habits and like bad decision making. The other person is pointing the finger at somebody's character, their personality, like who they are. And I'm like, you marry a person for those things. You don't marry them for their habits. Those things can change and you can express like frustration and hurt and pain behind those things. But to look at somebody and be like, you're not interesting. You don't like stimulate me intellectually, or like, I don't know if those aren't the exact words, but like he kind of was pointing at those things. I'm like, you're pointing at who she is and saying you're the problem. She's saying here's a habit that you need to work on. Those are two really big differences. And like one of them is very damaging.
Yeah.
Totally. And also the way he's able to like flip the script and do it in a way. I mean, like the whole like smoking conversation where he's like, you're high all day. And she's like, I don't smoke until I take the dogs out on their last walk, which is at 10 p.m. I'm not smoking until after 10:30. You have all day to talk to me. And he's like, you need to be an adult and like have a job. It's like,
I mean, maybe not.
She's like, no, again, it's at 10:30 at night. Like
That was definitely a tit for
Yeah.
tat. He was like, I'm going to bring this up because you're bringing up my party.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which also,
But
like, she has a job. She's on reality TV.
I'm sure she
Like-
gets deals.
Yeah.
When he was throwing out those like character digs, he was like, and we have no compatibility, we also have nothing in common, and I'm like, that's also compatibility. No, but it's just like, Kyle treats it as if that's Amanda's only responsibility in this relationship, is to like root for Kyle without question, never, only pat him on the back as long as he is motivated and inspired. That needs to, as far as Kyle's is concerned, that needs to be good enough. And he is expecting Amanda to always just be happy that he is motivated and inspired and he's always doing the right thing. And, Carl was like this too, but like at some point you need a cheerleader, but sometimes you have to be able to take some constructive criticism. If we're using sports analogies, you want people believing you and you need to pat on the back, but sometimes you need to be checked. And Kyle is just like, anytime anyone checks him, I mean, it's a literal temper tantrum.
It also is so sad watching, like, after he stands up on the beach and he's like, you have no personality, you have no drive, you have no whatever. And she just is kind of like, like laughs it off. And it's like, you are so used to being talked to like this. Like, it's not shocking to you. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe you just said that to me. It's like, this happens all the time. And then hearing her in bed with Sierra being like, is he going to treat our kids this way?
Right.
So heartbreaking, so sad.
Yeah.
But honestly, great question for her to ask. Like, you're literally picking the person you're going to raise a child with, and like how he talks to you, it's probably going to be even worse to a little kid who doesn't have like the capacity to function properly. Like he's going to snap.
I think she has no tears left to cry. Like, I think that's what we're saying.
Sincerely, I'm not trying to like beat him down or whatever, but I genuinely would love to know, like in a deeper conversation, whether it's on the show or just offline, from his standpoint, like how does he not see what everyone seems to be seeing? And outside of like not feeling like, outside of being upset that his wife doesn't fully support his DJ career, why can't you understand her frustration and the shit you put her through? Why is that so hard to understand?
Yeah.
And you keep saying you love her, but you're not willing to do anything that makes her feel loved or supported or believed in. And it's just like, at what point, like, do you expect Amanda to keep caring while he keeps showing up and his biggest gripe is basically like, you don't like me, or, and it's like he keeps doing things that are just hard to I just don't know anyone who's just like, I want to marry a party person. I want to marry a party boy. I want to marry someone who like just like needs to feel that that's the only, every time I watch Summer House, that's the only thing that gets Kyle kind of like his heart pumping.
That's true.
Yeah.
Him and his cardboard cutouts of everybody.
Ugh, if only he could let the softness of a beautiful woman fill his art in that way as well.
I think
no one's ever been like, yeah, that's what I want.
I think
That's my dream.
that
That's my man.
people will like him better single and pursuing his career. Like, I think this industry, you get such a hit off of followers, likes, validation publicly. I can only imagine being a DJ and being live somewhere, the thrill that you get being on stage and people chanting.
Sure.
Like, I have to imagine it is very addictive. And I say this with compassion for both of them, honestly, because I think it's really hard to be in a public relationship. But I think that people are going to like him better pursuing that and being honest that that is his priority right now, and letting her go find somebody else who will fulfill what it is that she's looking for. And I think they'll both be happier. And I like, honestly, from the press,
For sure.
it seems like they already are.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it kind of is like they both loved each other and they were trying to make it work, but like they wanted different things, and that in itself will cause so much turmoil.
It kind
like,
of
makes me
paralyzed
sad.
Carl and Lindsay, parallels them, because when Carl and Lindsay finally split, now people are seeing them kind of come back together and goof around,
Mhm.
but then actually
Yeah.
see them successful on their own.
Well, I feel for Kyle in the sense that, like, and again, maybe this is all for show. Maybe this isn't all who Kyle is. But if Kyle can't change the way he views his responsibility to show up in a relationship, he's just never going to be happy in a relationship outside the honeymoon phase.
Mhm.
You know, most likely you can, a guy who's DJing, he'll get a girlfriend. She'll think he's great for a while. He'll be like, yeah, I finally am dating someone who I have a lot in common with. But it never ages well.
And I think he's going to keep searching for that fulfillment in these like pursuits. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think that you really find fulfillment in that. I think that if he really does want a relationship, he is going to have that cycle of new girlfriend. Oh, this is exciting. She validates me,
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z. But then he's going to let her down. It's going to be this continuous cycle. And I say I could be completely wrong, but I do think that will probably be the case, and it will be a continuous case until he either realizes I'm not getting fulfillment. I need to look at myself and figure this out. But it might be 10 years from now. Like, I feel like,
And he
Or it might
is
never
like
happen.
a 40-year-old
It might never
man.
happen.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like Kyle Cook. There's a Mad Men-esque energy to Kyle Cook of just like you will always just be searching for that thing,
exactly.
and unless you let yourself have it, you're never gonna find it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's do you think there's a part of him that, especially since Jesse and West showed up, two very charismatic kind of party boys who are leaning into the, like, hey, I got this public persona now. I'm single, like I'm open to a relationship, but hey, like I'm not right now. I'm just kind of comfortable being single and having that freedom, which at their stage in life makes a lot of sense. They realize that maybe they're not ready for a relationship, and they're obviously a bit younger. But do you think, watching Jesse and Wes come in, you have Kyle almost resenting the fact that when he does go out, he has to behave himself and he can't lean in and he can't like really enjoy the attention he receives from all the people who give him the attention when he's out?
I believe he's kind of had this behavior in previous seasons prior to Jesse and Wes. I could be wrong.
Mhm.
I think what it is more Amanda wanting to actually settle down and being vocal about that,
Mm-hmm.
which is kind of like showing to him that it's not what he wants.
Mm-hmm.
I
think it
would
could
be
be
really
both.
curious to ask him, like you said, your greatest fear in life is to not have a family by the time your parents pass. And I don't know how old his parents are, and hopefully they're with us for a long time. But he said it as if like he doesn't think he has a great deal of time left.
Mm.
And if that is your greatest fear, then what are you doing about making sure
Your
prioritizing
DJing
to
career.
avoiding your greatest fear coming to life? Because all the things he seems to be prioritizing have nothing to do with making sure his greatest fear doesn't
Or maybe he's
become a reality.
maybe he's just now realizing that that's his greatest fear. Like that could be too. I don't know because I haven't watched, but I'm like, if this hasn't come up before, maybe this is coming up because he's realizing, oh, I'm choosing this path rather than this path. And that could mean the difference of my parents being around for that part of my life or not. Because when you get divorced and when you break up in a serious relationship at this point in our lives, like when you're in your 30s or whatever, like you're
Yeah.
realizing like, oh, there's several years ahead before I get to that point most of the time. And you're like, it makes a big difference in your timeline. And so maybe he's coming to that realization, and it's definitely the right choice based on their behavior, but it might be a hard pill to swallow.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. You're always like, you if you end a relationship, you're thinking, I mean, like 3 or 4 years, you meet,
Literally.
unless I meet someone tomorrow, let's you give yourself 6 to 12 months to meet someone, and then you like 6 to 12 months to date and 6 to 12 months to get engaged. That's assuming everything's fast tracked, right? And that's still 3 to 5 years.
I want to talk about Sierra and West a little bit.
The love of his life.
I am giggling and kicking my feet. I want them together so bad.
I don't even know the lore, but I do too. I'm seeing things online and I'm like, wait, they're so
Don't worry about the
cute.
lore. Don't worry about the lore.
Okay.
I think they're just a couple of hotties who love to give each other the attention they enjoy.
Exactly.
But
And I think it's great right where it is. They've healed a little bit. Most of the hurt has subsided. There's still a friendship there. There's still mutual respect. When they both feel lonely for whatever reason in their interpersonal or dating lives, they can validate each other. Maybe even like have a great makeout. I don't know.
fun.
Have fun on the dance floor. Be a date at the maybe a date at the wedding is a little too on the nose for them. That's part
Too
of the
on the
lore.
nose.
Yeah,
We can skip that one.
But nevertheless, I think they're in a good spot, and they tried the serious romantic feeling thing, and
It doesn't work for everyone.
it doesn't work for them.
No.
So no, I don't want them to get together. I want them to sit right where they are, and it seems like it works for them.
Look, I watched Wuthering Heights and that showed me that love can be truly toxic. And I know Sierra was at the Wuthering Heights premiere, so she watched it too. And I just want her to know if she's going to choose to go with Wes, girl, listen to yourself. Be honest with yourself.
Oh, really?
Or
So we don't repeat cycles.
Oh, okay.
or maybe just it's like I think what's happening is they're kind of just meeting each other where they're at. So it's like I'm not giggling and kicking my feet because I think Sierra and West are gonna get married in our end game. I'm just like
This
they
is
should
fun.
fuck.
It's so
Yeah.
cute, but it's also like we saw how like serious and intense that like fallout was. And like
okay.
it really is up to Sierra to feel comfortable to enter that again.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Which is what
for
Wes was
sure.
saying. Wes was literally
And
like,
West
I can't
knows-
tell.
Yeah, West is like, I can't tell if we're friends, if we're flirting, or if she hates his guts.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which for
Which
West,
is
I am
exciting.
That's awesome.
That's exciting. That's part of the thrill. That's why he's so.
That's the most
into
fun
it,
part,
you know?
I feel like.
That's
it's
true.
pretty. Yeah. Yeah.
Everyone loves to be like confused and then get dangled along a little bit. Like even though you
I
don't
mean,
want
I'll
to.
never
but-
forget when I was in high
Yeah.
school. I was graduating high school, and some girl who was like in a different friend group, and I thought she got really cute, and she's like, "I don't like you," and I'm like, in my mind, I'm thinking, "I love you."
Yeah.
Like as soon as.
as soon as she said that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was like the most romantic thing I've ever
You're
heard
like,
in my
oh
life.
my God, you're
Like,
gonna be mean to me?
Yeah.
I'm gonna fall in
Yeah.
love with you.
Yeah.
You hate me?
You hate me?
This is perfect.
Oh my
I
God.
love a
like,
challenge.
I love it.
It was like the best Valentine's Day card ever. I fucking hate your guts. I'm like, oh my God.
Aw.
God.
But yeah, that kind of reminds me of that. And it's fun and it's exhilarating. And it's like, they have a great thing going right now. Don't ruin it with real feelings.
You know, it's interesting. Her friendship with Jesse Solomon. Because
Yeah.
they were feuding, but this season they're like,
She's like, you should date a girl like me, not me.
they're
but
like
you
giving
should date a
advice to
girl
each
like
other
me."
and they're being like healthy friendship kind of.
They're girling out.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He's one of the girls.
He is one of the
Yeah.
girls.
Another great friendship where it's just like, I don't think I want to date this person. We've never done anything physically, but I recognize they're an attractive person and the other person feels the same way. And it's always like what if we did fuck?
Yeah.
Kind of, that's also fun.
Didn't they try
Yeah.
like kind of teasing a relationship last season, or am I wrong?
There was like a moment.
They leaned in.
They leaned in a
and
little
they
bit,
leaned
right?
in, but obviously
Yeah.
with Lexi. Well, because that
Oh,
caused
true.
drama with Jesse and Lexi. But also, did you guys notice Jesse being like, yeah, Lexi wasn't a real relationship?
The flashbacks to Lexi.
Crazy.
I
Yeah,
was like, he just said that with his full chest. I know that girl is pissed.
Oh, another thing I thought about, first of all, like KJ, really appreciate his vulnerability. His abs are just
I felt the exact same way.
very impressive.
Yeah.
But as KJ talked about his relationship with his father, who, by the way, a professional baseball player, if I'm correct, right? So his dad, from a professional standpoint, very accomplished, and he told this story about one day his dad, who he didn't know, showed up with a bunch of gifts, and I feel like that's the path that Kyle is on. He's super fixated on being professionally successful, while saying, yeah, I want kids and I want a family someday and I hope my parents meet my kids. But like, he's not showing that that's something he really cares about. And is he going to end up being the dad who like shows up with a bunch of gifts and thinks like that's enough to make your like your kids feeling validated and feeling cared for and feeling seen? And it just made me really sad because there are a lot of parents out there like that.
Yeah.
Especially dads.
What keeps replaying in my head is Amanda last season being like, when does work stop?
Yeah.
Like work never stops for Kyle.
That's the thing. Like he's never prioritized her. It was like lover boy, now DJing. I'm sure there's been other things in the mix, drinking, going out, partying. Like she's just never been his priority. And it's so sad.
And you can be a hard ass working person who is very career focused and still show up for the people you love.
Yeah.
I will say I like that they're showing the reality of this on TV. I don't think it's super common to see a relationship unfold this way.
It's crazy. I mean, honestly, I was thinking about that too. When they're just like, it's got to be so meta for them to like just be taking off like the gloves or the handcuffs or the filters and just, I mean, I have to believe at this point we're watching, they both know it's over and they are deciding to lean in.
Yeah. That being said, I hope they're okay. Like, not to be cheesy, but I'm like, I hope they're it's so hard to watch back even positive things online about or on TV about yourself. So like, I feel like as we are just talking about it, I'm like, I'm grateful that people are vulnerable enough to go on TV and share it because it is really interesting and it is very real. Like us talking about it, I'm like, it's not that we haven't seen this in our own friend groups or experienced it ourselves. Like this is the reality of being married or dating or whatever it is. And like to be vulnerable and do it on TV is a lot. So,
well, that's why I started it by saying like, I'm not like looking to defend Kyle, but Kyle is a person who clearly he feels strongly about his feelings. And whether he's right or wrong, or whether we connect with his point of view, he feels victimized by it. And I am sad that he feels that way, but he can't and other people are having a hard time relating to his point of view. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have Ashley up next to talk about all the drama going on in Love is Blind, especially her relationship with Alex, which we have a lot of questions to ask. Ashley, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Very excited to have you.
I'm a little nervous.
Oh, don't be nervous. Well, let's
nervous.
start off with a softball. Why did you join this show? Obviously, I ask this a question to everyone. It's such a fascinating experiment. Certainly not for everybody, but I'm just curious about what led you to be willing to take such a exciting but crazy, risk, I guess, in your love story, so to speak.
Yes. So it was actually like a very crazy opportunity that just came up for me. And I'm like a big person on signs. And I had just gone through a pretty tough breakup. I had dated this guy for 5 years. We broke up and instantly like all these positive things started happening to me. I got a new promotion. I got a new apartment. I got all these things happening. And then all of a sudden, like my friends were like, you need to go out for Love is Blind. And I was kind of like, no, like I don't want to be that girl. But they started reaching out to me. And again, I was kind of like, okay, this is a sign. Like if they're reaching out, like there's got to be some good to come from this. So they like slid into my DMs and they were like, let's set up a call. And I instantly started like freaking out. I was like, this is crazy. But in the past, I'm not going to lie, like I go for looks. And I think a lot of people do that. Like you instantly see someone and you're like, that guy has an appearance that I like. And, you go for that. And as my dad has said, everybody said, I've got a bad picker. I go for looks. And then I kind of like forget about everything else. So I was like, well, this is a great opportunity to find out like after my breakup, if I've really healed, if I've grown and I can trust myself to make a good decision about someone based off of everything else other than the looks. So I was like, why not try it? I wasn't ready for dating apps. I was just like, I was on it for 5 minutes and I was like, I can't have another conversation that's like, what's your favorite color? Like, I don't care. So this really kind of like throws you in to forcefully trust yourself to ask hard questions very early on in knowing someone. And I think that's kind of what appealed to me. I was like, I won't be able to see what they look like. I'm going to fall for this person based off of if they match my values, my morals, and like what I want in my life rather than, oh my God, he's so cute. So I think that's why I was like ultimately interested in it.
That's awesome. I'm curious, how was your relationship different with Alex once you got out of the pods, and or what changes did you notice in him once you guys were out of the pods?
I think it was so different for me in the pods because I read a lot of body language. And my dad kind of says it too, like honesty is written all over the body.
Yeah.
So in the pods, I'm going off of a voice telling me things. I don't know if he's pacing around nervously. I don't know, if he's like looking a certain way, if there's like infliction, is like different things go into it. So I think once I was out of the pods, I'm very analytical. I'm pretty logical. So I was like catching myself kind of picking up on those things. And I ask a lot of questions. I know I do. And I'm just a curious person. I'm still getting to know this person outside of the pods. And we're still on this journey to get married at the end of this. So I ask a lot of questions. And if something, it like sounds a little bit different than what we talked about in the pods, or something doesn't add up, I ask more questions. And with Alex, it was just hard for me because I already ask a lot of questions. I'm already a yapper. And then out of the pods, I could catch those little like micro expressions or anything he was doing with his body language. And if something didn't add up, I'd ask more questions. And it's so hard. He has such a crazy, unique, interesting story. So I think like the more I asked those questions, I could kind of feel it in him. It was like, we've already talked about this. And I'm like, I know, but it's really hard for me to keep track because he's been all over the world. He's traveled, he's lived different places, he's had these different jobs. And I could kind of tell, like, he was probably like, why is this girl asking me so many questions? But again, I'm there to find my husband. Like, I need to make sure this person is telling me everything I need to know before I say I do at that altar.
I do feel like out of anyone, he probably enjoys talking about himself more than anything else.
Watching it back, I'm like, did I say things? Like, did I speak?
Oh,
I'm like, I think in the pods, like, I was like, yeah. I'm like, can you say something else?
It's also obviously, edited, and I'm sure there's a lot we don't get to see. But I am curious about if you can remember back in the pods, because we know, like, maybe they just didn't show it and maybe you experienced it. But once you guys got out of the pods, the way Alex spoke, I was like, he asked himself a lot of questions while communicating to you. It's like, am I like this? I don't know. And usually when someone does that to me, that's them trying to like convince themselves of what they're saying. And I'm curious, did he speak that way in the pods and maybe we just didn't get to see it? Or was that a change up after you guys got to meet each other in person?
I think it is hard to think back. But I think like we were just yapping in the pods. I mean, people don't understand, like they showed very specific moments from our pods and we are in there for like hours and we talk about everything. So I'm sure there's moments where I'm just like yapping about nonsense and like he's also just doing the same. But in the pods, like I love to listen to people. I love to ask questions so that they can talk about themselves. I think people like they love to talk about themselves and I want to learn about them. So I don't remember in the pods being like, oh my God, land the plane, like what are we talking about? We're going in circles. I don't really remember that. And then like even after I was like, I don't really remember being in that moment. I think I was just like, I like listening to him talk about himself and like his passions. And that's what you do when you're in love with someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you want them to talk about everything that they love. You want to learn what makes them tick. You want to learn the good, the bad, the ugly. And I guess I was just like letting him express himself because usually I'm the one that won't shut up. And it's very strange to see me on the other side of that when the camera's on.
What was your reaction to watching the reality of the conversation between Alex and Brittany?
Yeah, that was, I hadn't seen that. I didn't know about that conversation. I did know like his type is someone that looks like Brittany. And I think there's like a misconception that I'm like, how dare he go for Brittany? But like, look at her. Like, she's a stunning woman. I said it in the pods with all the girls. I was like, if a man doesn't choose me and he chooses one of these other girls, I'm like, he's making a good decision because all these women are strong. They're ambitious. They're beautiful inside and out. And I can't fault Alex for being like, I'm attracted to her. We all have like certain people and attributes that we look for. However, it was like a little bit more flirty than I like to like watch, but I can't fault him for having a type. And Brittany's very attractive. She's beautiful. But I do think like for anyone on the show, if you're going to go onto a show where you're taking away the looks aspect, this isn't the show for you. And it kind of came across as like, oh, we're just playing this game. And I was like, this isn't a game to me. Like, this is my life. This is going to be my marriage. And I think maybe a different Netflix dating show would have been better if that's what he wanted.
Well, you can't fault him for being attracted to Brittany. You can fault him for lying to your face. I mean, you were flat out like, did you have any flirty conversations? And he was like, did I flirt? I don't know. Did they take it as me flirting? I don't know.
Like
I am
other
friendly.
people might think it's flirting, but I don't. I definitely don't think it was flirting. But like, I don't know. You have to watch the tape.
And then he's like, I just care about Brittany and Devontae. It's like, well, that's not the conversation at all.
Yeah, it was definitely, and that's what I mean, like with the body language and like seeing him kind of almost nervous answering my questions about that. I was like, what are you not telling me? And I think you can literally tell on my face, but I'm just like, okay, we're going to see where this goes. This is like the first time everybody's seeing everyone, meeting everybody. So I was like, I'm going to give him like some grace, you know, like it's okay to be attracted to different people. For me, it's not realistic for me to be like, oh, he's never going to find another girl attractive. Other than me, especially since I'm not his normal type. But I just think there's a time and place for everything. And if he was feeling so strongly that way, like, yeah, have a conversation with me. I'm not going to like scream and riot in the streets. Like, I know Brittany's beautiful. So it was a little strange, but at the end of the day, like, she's beautiful. But if you are so picky, then different show.
You spoke a lot about how hot you thought Alex was. And good for him for, I guess, being a beautiful guy. But I'm curious, when you saw him and you're like, oh my God, this guy's so hot, did that make you a little bit nervous? You know, I just feel like obviously like there's pretty privilege, right? I don't, you know, if he's that good looking of a guy, it's hard to believe that he really would be open to not prioritizing looks. And once you got out of the pods, I forgot where it was. It was when you guys were still in Mexico. But he was like, looks are still really important part of a relationship. And it's like, yeah, we know, but this is Love is Blind, you know? And it's kind of like, did you sign up to see if you could also emotionally connect with someone and hope that they're beautiful? Or were you open to ignoring the physical attributes as much as the rest of the cast seemed to be?
I was open to like anything this experiment threw my way. I was like, I'm here for it. I was attracted to Alex. Like I am attracted to Alex. He's a very good looking guy. I think when I saw him, I was just like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good question. I think I was just like, oh, he's good looking and he's a good person, because we had all these conversations and it was like, you know, I felt for who he was as a person and what he was telling me in the pods and things like that. It was icing on the cake that, oh, I'm actually really attracted to him as well. But I think like if he didn't look the way he did, I would have still felt the same way. And when I go into something, I put 110% into it. And, you know, if there's things we need to work through, there's things we need to work through, whether it's his looks, you know, if there's any other deal breakers that may have been broken, there's things you always have to work through in a relationship. But I was going into this being like, looks don't matter. Like, you can't think that looks matter, because I think even Alex says it, you know, like after, I think he said like 35, looks go downhill. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm 34. I was like, you know, I'm not always going to have like the looks. You know, we're all aging. We all go through different phases. Kids can bring changes. So I was like, I'm not always going to look this way. I can't expect him to be picture perfect either. So looks don't really matter to me. And that's how I'm going into like any relationship with Alex, with anyone else. Like, looks don't really matter to me anymore. I need someone who has a good heart and treats me well. I do have non-negotiables. Cheating and lying is two of them. I don't know. Those are the things that are important to me now, not looks.
I want to talk about the sex conversation that you guys had in episode 8.
Which one? Just kidding.
Lots to unpack there, but I'm curious. Have you watched that scene?
I've unfortunately watched all my scenes, yes.
Oh, okay.
And with my eyes, like...
There's always like, it's always really interesting. You're in a very unique position because most of us, you know, in life don't get to like literally watch the tape of conversations we had, right? And sometimes we can watch it back and be like, oh, you know, I was kind of in this fight or flight mode, but like this person, they really seem to be trying to figure out ways to get out of this relationship. I'm not sure how you saw it, and obviously you were there, but how did you interpret that conversation on like, I guess like a higher level? We'll get into the weeds of like period sex and things like that. But I'm curious, watching it back, what do you think Alex's motivation in that conversation was?
So which scene was it? Unfortunately, I have to ask that question.
It started with him nitpicking about the fridge and stuff, and then the
that conversation?
the period
Moving
sex,
to Florida.
moving to Florida. It was at the kitchen table.
Yeah. Watching that back, it is strange. Like I'm a cleaner. I love to clean. When I'm stressed, I clean. So I'm in this crazy experiment, gonna get married in like 5 minutes. And yeah, I'm a little stressed. So I'm gonna clean. And the fridge, I just love it to look like I'm on MTV Cribs or something. So yeah, I move the water bottles a little bit. When it comes to like the sexual talk there, I'm in my 30s. Like, you can touch me when I'm on my period, first of all. Sorry, I know that's kind of weird to say, but
It's definitely not
it's just
weird
like a
to say.
weird conversation to have with a grown adult. I'm like, do we need to take you back to like sex ed or something? Like, do you not know how the human body works? And can't fault him for that. But it was just a very like strange conversation to have. And thinking back, I was like, this will never air. Of course, it's aired.
I was saying this to the team. It's just hard to imagine, especially when he was talking about like not wanting to have kids, as if that was like, of course, it's just like he said a lot of things where it's like, at first it's like, of course that's a valid thing to say, but it's just like, I don't know if I really believe it, right? It's like, okay, you're not ready to have kids. No one wants you to, and obviously you want to practice safe sex, but were you bringing this same energy, Alex, in your soccer playing days, in college, in your early 20s? There's condoms and things like that. Like, I mean, yeah, I think the typical stereotype of men is like, if they really want something, they will eliminate all excuses, and Alex in that conversation, like it's just like, honestly, the fact that you felt the need even to explain to our audience about you cleaning, you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like the fact that he's going to make a big deal about like the water bottle being on the second shelf instead of the first one. It's like, really, Alex? It's like every part of that conversation was him trying to like poke holes in the relationship or find the cracks. And then he finally got into this whole like period sex thing, which was kind of a bananas conversation.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. That conversation, watching it back, felt like an eternity. So with Alex, I was just kind of like, watching it back, I was like, are you looking for a way out of this? Because we had those conversations. Like I said, in the pods, you talk about everything. There's not like one stone unturned. So we did talk about like, I'm not on birth control and like, I don't want those hormones in my body, just because I'm much more like holistic in that approach. And what was not shown is like, I had this ex-boyfriend for 5 or 6 years. I track my ovulation. Like, I'm a woman. Like, I do these things to take care of my body. So it was just like an out-of-pocket comment. And I was just like, where is this coming from? But at that point, after Mexico, it was definitely like a switch for him. I was like, are you attracted to me? And I think I even say it. I'm like, we had this conversation. I'm not your normal type. Is that in the back of your mind? And I think he also kind of just brushes it under the carpet again. And I'm like, okay, everything's good. Let's go golf.
The way that he offered to have a shared tracking app so that he could also know, like he doesn't believe you, like you're not gonna, like it was the most wild.
I'm gonna trap him.
Yeah, like I'm sorry, you want to share my tracking app? That's insane. Were you like in that? I mean, I know you're like that's not necessary, but in that moment, were you like, this is insane?
It was, because he kind of goes into like, oh, you're not initiating. And I'm like, well, a woman wants to feel wanted. And if your body language is telling me something different, I'm not going to just like smother you with my love. And the shared tracker, I'm going to give him some like props here. Like he was trying, but I'm like, no, you don't need to know my ovulation schedule or my period schedule.
I guess in what way was he trying?
It was some kind of compromise. He's putting something on him to take those actions to show like maybe he does care and he wants to make sure we're having safe sex and not having a baby. And I'm not ready for kids. Like, I don't know if he was thinking I was trying to trap him. I'm not ready. He travels a lot. I'm like, that'll be impossible. Not impossible, but very hard. If we have babies running around, we can't go overseas. And like, it's just a lot more challenging. So I was like, I don't want babies either. So I'm not trying to trap you.
Did he have like almost a scare in earlier relationships?
Mm-mm. I don't think he got anyone, oopsie, a scare or whatever. The conversation we have that's shown is basically all that I know about any exes he may have. He wasn't very open about that. And I think even like with my friends, he was just like, I don't really like to talk about the past.
Yeah, weird.
And I'm kind of like the opposite. I'm like, the past has made me who I am. The past is why I am the way I am going into any relationship in the future. So I'm very open about it. And I hope that my story can like relate to someone, I guess, or like it helps someone understand where they may be at in a relationship. But with Alex, I was like, he was an accident himself. So maybe he's just not trying to have that repeated. And it's scary. I get it. Like if a girl's like, I'm not on birth control, it's probably scary for a guy. But I was very open about that. And I also like, it wasn't really shown, but in that conversation, I do go back to my last relationship. And I was like, I was in this relationship for 5 years. I had no problems. And what's also not shown is that my ex actually got a girl pregnant like a few months after we had broken up. So I was like, it's not me. I wasn't the problem.
When you said, so when I'm on my period, I'm like the play. I mean, like, did he ever answer that of like, oh my God. No, I mean, like, was that true when you were on your period? He was just like not going to be intimate with you?
I guess. And I know like it's probably weird for some guys, I guess, but
no, Ashley, like
I'm
like,
a woman. Like I don't
we are
care.
adults. That is part of life.
I think they only care when they choose to care.
Yeah, I think if anything, like as a woman, like we're actually more horny on our periods. So not to feed into my like over sexualized persona on the show, but if anything, I'm like, oh, touch me more.
It's just wild that he's like a grown adult and he's.
I'm curious, what did you think about his relationship slash situationship that was potentially overlapped him coming on the show?
Yeah, I didn't love that. I remember that conversation. And I just, like I said, I ask a lot of questions and you can kind of tell on my face in that conversation. I was like, did I just catch you? Lying about possibly cheating, which are again two of my like non-negotiables. Like you cheat, you lie, I'm out. Especially like maybe they were like little white lies to some people. So watching that, they may be like, she's like overreacting. But again, I'm finding a husband. I'm about to marry this man and we're creating a foundation based off of a lie. And I'm gonna dig deeper into that. If it's honest, then tell me the truth. If it's not, we need to have a different conversation. And he kind of goes into that, the why behind, why he went to Austin to see his ex. And, it cleared things up, but I've been cheated on so much in the past where I was like, it was in the back of my mind for sure. And I think you could kind of see it on my face.
I am curious. You mentioned that you feel like you have a sexualized personality on the show. I remember you mentioning the dragon smut, which I thought was relatable and hilarious.
Thank you.
Do you think that's just the way the show is portraying you?
So people have been asking me that since the first drop. That is like very much me. I do say these things. Like I am a very like sexual person. My friends will all tell you that I'm very confident. And I think that's important for every woman to have. And I think it's okay to share that.
Yeah.
I don't love that it was like everything. Everything I said was like a little middle school boy joking around. But I do very much like have those conversations with my girlfriends. I do kind of want the audience to see a little bit more of me. You meet my family and they are everything to me. My family is, my brother's my best friend. My dad, I'm literally his twin copy paste. My mom and dad's relationship is kind of the foundation that I want for my relationship. My family is what I build my morals, my ethics, anything I value is built around them. So I kind of wish that was shown a little bit more in the pods because me and Alex really did relate a lot on that, especially when it came to our grandparents. I was so close with my grandfather and my grandmother, and Alex obviously had a very good relationship with his as well. So I kind of wish they showed that a little bit more, just like the first episode, me being like, sex.
It's the curse of reality TV. We often get siloed into very specific characters.
I knew what I was doing. I was on camera. There's 1,000 cameras around me all the time. I should have, shut my mouth.
You did great.
Thanks.
I'm curious, when you were in the pods, you've now said that you've typically gone for guys that were really attractive, and that was maybe the more important thing, even though you knew deep down there was deeper levels to it. When you were in the pods and you were talking to him, did you get the sense that he was a hot guy? Like, I'm curious if you had this inkling of like, oh, he's a soccer player, like the way he talks, like he feels like my typical type. I have a good feeling that he's going to be really good looking. And did that steer your decision at all? And I'm also curious, did you also have this, when you like get into a relationship and you just like know one way or the other, did you feel any of that in the pods, and did it change once you got out?
So like, it's so weird. You're literally staring at like this orange wall. Like, I think I say it, you're hypnotized almost. Alex does have like a very like sultry voice. And I think that's why I just like let him talk so much, and it's just him constantly talking and talking. But he does have like a very good voice. Soccer player, I was like, that could go either way. I mean, he could be tall, he could be short. I didn't really know what to expect with that, but I had no idea like what he was going to look like. I just thought I thought he was brunette. I thought he was going to be definitely tan because he's an athlete. I don't know. He's outside playing soccer, lived all these other places. But that was really all I could see. And I remember thinking about it when I was in the pods. I'm like, all I see is like this like mannequin almost, and the face is just like a bright light. And I could only really see that with Alex. And I kind of say it, he was like my best friend in the pods. We talked. And every time I was going into the pods, I was like, I want it to be Alex. But I didn't really I don't know. I mean, when you're doing your reveal, that was probably the most nerve-wracking point of this entire experience. Cause I was like, what am I doing? It was almost like the Hunger Games when like Katniss comes up and she's like disoriented. They're like strobing this light behind you, and you just like don't know what's going to be on the other side of this. I was getting all these Instagrams where it's like the cringiest reveals. And I was like, please don't be me. But you just don't really know what to expect. And I guess that's the easiest way for me to put it into words.
That makes sense.
Well, before we let you go, what is your opinion on some of the other couples?
So Christine and Vic's story, I always I was dying to see like the behind the like in the pods, like their conversations, dying to see their reveal. So I think that's the one that I was most like eating my popcorn, like tuning into. And I just like really love watching their story. They're just like two very pure souls. I love watching their love story.
Love.
It's awesome. Ashley, really appreciate you taking the time. Good luck the rest of the way. Very excited to see how everything unfolds for you. And
thank you.
Yeah, just thanks for taking the time.
Yes, of course. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Ashley.
Okay, bye.
Well, I'm interested to see how their relationship unfolds.
Up next, a very riveting and honest conversation with Jay Manuel talking about Reality Check, America's Next Top Model documentary, streaming now on Netflix. It's #1 on Netflix, and everyone is talking about it. And we have Jay himself to give us his very honest interpretation of all things regarding America's Next Top Model and the doc. Have you heard of Goldbelly? Well, if not, listen up. It's an amazing site that we order from all the time, where you can get the most iconic, famous foods from restaurants all across the U.S., and they will ship it across the country directly to your door. Whether it's deep dish pizza from Chicago, like places like Lou Malnati, or New York's famous cheesecake from Junior's, or our favorite, Peter Luger, where Natalie and I have mentioned as one of our first dates we ever had, and every now and then we like to reminisce, celebrate our relationship without having to go to Brooklyn. And you could do that as well if you want to maybe be nostalgic or impress your friends at the next dinner party. Look to Goldbelly for a game-changing experience. It really seems unbelievable. It almost like when we heard about Goldbelly, it seemed too good to be true, but then we tried it, and truly, famous restaurants across this country will show up to your front door and bring you an experience you'll never forget. So if you are looking at the perfect gift, or want to impress your friends and family with an epic meal the next time you host, go to goldbelly.com and get 20% off your first order with promo code VIALL. That is goldbelly.com, code VIALL for 20% off your first order. When you're in the level up mindset for your business, it's wild how much basic stuff matters, like customer service, or just making sure you do not miss any calls when it comes to your customers. I mean, think about it. Anytime you've been looking for an electrician or plumber or any type of service and they didn't answer immediately, what did you do? You just moved on to the next. That was a missed opportunity for the first few people that you called, which is why today's episode is sponsored by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the modern alternative to run your business communications. Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2 with over 3 3,000 reviews built on how modern teams work. That's why more than 90,000 businesses, from solo operators to growing teams, rely on Quo to stay connected, professional, and consistently reachable. Quo works wherever you are, right from an app on your phone or computer, and lets you keep your existing number, add new numbers or teammates in minutes, sync your CRM, and rely on seamless routing and call flows as your business scales. Your entire team can handle calls and texts from one shared number. No more missed messages or disconnected conversations. Everyone sees full thread, making replies faster, and customers feel genuinely cared for. Quo isn't just a phone system, it's a smart system. Quo's AI automatically logs calls, generates summaries, and highlights next steps so nothing gets lost. It's easy. Text, calls, voicemails, transcripts, and contact details all live in one clean view. If you are a team of one or team of many, let Quo help you take your business to the next level. Make this the year where no opportunities and no customers slip away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/VIALL. That is Quo, QUO.com/VIALL. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Okay, I need to talk about my outfit for a second because this is not your average sports merch. I'm wearing Hype and Vice, repping the Milwaukee Bucks, and I feel like I'm giving courtside baddie.
It not only looks good, but the quality feels top tier.
It really does. What I love is that Hype and Vice makes officially licensed NBA pieces that actually feel up to date. Think oversized mock neck crew necks, vintage baby tees, mini skirts, crop jerseys, cool varsity jackets, stuff you'd wear even if you weren't going to a game.
This is not your basic t-shirt merch, not at all.
Exactly. It's for the sports fans who care about style and their team. You can wear it to the arena, out and about, really anywhere, and it's not just NBA either.
Nope. They have colleges, MLS soccer, and they're also adding NHL. So no matter who you root for, there is something for every fan.
Plus, it's perfect if you're dressing as a couple, even if you're on rival teams, just like us right now.
Yeah. So if you're over basic fan gear and just want something that feels elevated, check out Hype and Vice.
Go to hypeandvice.com and shop your team. Use code VIALL15 for 15% off your next order. That's VIALL15 for 15% off your next order.
All you sports fans out there, you know there's so many just crappy websites to get your favorite merch, but Hype and Vice has high quality jackets and other items that you're absolutely going to love when you want to support your favorite team. That's hypeandvice.com. They're changing the game in sports apparel. All right, back to the show. Jay, welcome to the show. We are so grateful to have you.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh. I mean, it has been definitely a week, and I'm sure you guys got tons of questions.
Yes, we do. And I can only imagine. I guess maybe my first question is, I've never been a part of a doc, and I've certainly watched a lot. And it often feels like when you watch it back, you ask yourself, but yeah, I wonder what their expectations were when they were sitting down filming this versus how that doc came together. I'm curious, what were your expectations, and has it met those expectations now that you're watching it unfold?
Wow. So first of all, yes, I've done a lot of television and I've hosted a lot of live TV in my career, but never been in a doc myself. Yeah. So it is certainly strange when you see the finished piece for the first time. But, my expectations going into this ultimately were, I'm not here to change any minds. I'm not here to convince anyone of anything. I just wanted to answer the questions that were posed to me. And I was the geek in the room when Netflix told us early on that they were bringing in Moore and Daniel. And I just said, wait, are you serious? Because I'm that person who knows everybody who works on docs. And I was already a fan of all their work. And I was waiting for Manhunt Osama bin Laden to come out. So I thought, oh my God, these people are known for their journalistic integrity. So I already felt safe in that moment. So as soon as I knew it was them, and the first time we met, I said, I'm excited about this. I feel like this is a safe space. So when I sat down to start my interview, I wanted to underscore that there are no questions off the table. They can ask me anything about how I felt, back to my childhood, which we did talk about. And I sat in a very reflective, present state when I did those hours and hours and hours of interviews.
I imagine it felt a little therapeutic.
Yeah, yes and no. And I'm going to tell you why. I felt like I had done a lot of I had worked through a lot of my, I guess just the frustration and a lot of the emotions when I was writing my novel, which came out a few years before. And then I was doing press for that. And that's when I noticed what was bubbling up. And I thought, you know what? The work isn't done. I thought I had done the work to heal some of these issues. And I guess, the things that I had internalized from being on that show, that I then stepped away and did more work and actually worked with a therapist. So by the time I sat down here, it didn't, things weren't coming up for me in a super emotional way. And especially when I was speaking about my relationship with Tyra. But when watching the doc back, that was a different experience the first time, because seeing the Shandy story play out, someone who was my favorite that season, who I thought was going to win. And I'm lucky that I've been able to see Shandy since the show, and she knows how I feel about her. And I always felt that she was unfairly positioned in the show. So to see it play, especially at the top of episode 2 in Reality Check, I started bawling. So watching it was more emotional for me than actually sitting in my interviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
The internet has really taken to like the lack of accountability that we've seen from Tyra. And I guess it was all like, oh, maybe this is when we'll get that. And we still didn't really get that. Did you see any accountability from Tyra in the documentary?
The words I'll use, which maybe will, because I'm probably the one person in that entire documentary that knows an extremely personal side to her, more so than Ken Mock. Unfortunately, I think what people saw was a very prepared television Tyra.
Yeah.
I know the real Tyra, and we've had a lot of time where she's spending, she says it in the doc, sleeping over at my house. She hates hotels. So when she was in New York, she was at my home. Or if I was in LA, I was at her home. And we've talked a lot. And there's so much that still to this day, I keep in confidence, and I will forever keep in confidence. And I would not betray that even in the documentary, but there were no questions asked of me to kind of bring those things forward. But I say all this to say there is a very strong woman who has been through a lot. As a Black model in this industry that historically has treated Black models poorly, underpaid them, made them feel less than. And aside from that, her own personal wounds, if she had brought that vulnerability and the person that I know to the table, I think the world would have been much more receptive to the human being sitting in the documentary. But what we got was her armor. Honestly, that's what you got, because I know her. And the only time you see her break that is when Moore, one of the directors, pushes the envelope and says and asks her straight up, is maybe now a good time to talk about what happened with you and Jay? And you see her break. That's the only time she breaks in the doc. Yeah. And I wish she would have been able to speak to those girls, because Danny's voice, Kenya's voice, Shandy, all of their voices were, I think this would have been an amazing opportunity for her to really speak to these powerful women who chose to come forward. And she didn't.
Do you think this is kind of like maybe the old school person in her that maybe just comes from different generation of celebrity? So much about this documentary obviously discusses just how reality TV was made back in the day versus, how we are approaching it today. But yeah, do you feel like it just comes from that, or do you think it's deeper than that?
Oh, it's absolutely deeper than that, and it's absolutely calculated. She knows better. She knows the industry. She knows how it works. And for people who know Ken and Tyra, of course, the amount of the producers that worked on this show, and many of them, for fear of losing their current jobs, could not come forward and speak part of the documentary. But they have all contacted myself, Nigel, especially because Nigel and I were talking about this. And, everyone who knows them, you can tell, Ken and Tyra prepared themselves together, but were interviewed separately on separate days, but they were absolutely aligned. Whereas everyone else in the documentary, myself, Nigel and Jay, and I speak to us as being, on the show versus the contestants, we did not. we went in and we just answered the questions that were asked of us. And that was that. And we didn't speak about it beforehand. We talked a bit about it after we did the interviews, like, what did they ask you? You know, that kind of thing. But they were coordinated and you can see it.
Speaking of when she was asked about you, she said like that is for a phone call, you know, that's a private conversation. Have you had the chance to have that phone call with her yet?
What do you think?
I think probably not.
See, I don't even have to answer the questions.
Yeah.
Honestly, everyone's asked that. I mean, no, I've not had the phone call. My number's the same. She has my number.
Wow.
I didn't expect it. I kind of chuckled when I heard it in the doc, you know, and for her saying, oh, I'm not going to do that here. It's a phone call. He's a special man. You know, what's unfortunate is, you know, even in the documentary, we play, you know, we talk about this email that I wrote and her response. You know, the producers had to see that email. And it was very short. You know, I did have this pact with her. She didn't want to ever go through other people. And I wrote her the most lovely email of gratitude. And I was happy that I was help her realize her dream with this show. She'd always encouraged me to branch out. By then I was an correspondent doing live events and I had another show. And so I said to her, I'm going to focus on those other things and I'm here if you ever need me. And so there was no fight. There was no falling out. So I think she just can't answer this question because her behavior is somewhat reprehensible. I mean, you know, when I was forced back, ultimately, they asked me, you know, the timeline in the doc, if you want the real answer, because it's not super clear, they make it seem like I left and then they lurched me back. There was a little more time there. What happened was when I wrote that email, they were 3 months out of production for Cycle 9. So I was letting them know immediately I wasn't coming back. And so I didn't hear from anyone. It wasn't just her. I heard from no one. Ken Mock, not a producer, no one. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to move on with my life. I knew they were screen testing people to replace me because I knew who was going in for these tests. And then when I was on vacation, which they talk about in the doc, that was actually 2.5 weeks outside of them starting production.
Oh.
That's when they reached out. And that's when they said, can we have you come back and do this one cycle as a favor? And they asked nicely through their business affairs from the parent network. And the honest answer was because I was now contracted with E and the sister network with another show, I had then gone on board or had agreed to take part in another project they wanted me to be a co-host on. And so my lawyer went back, said, unfortunately, Jay has another commitment. Now, you all know, and you all work in entertainment, how that is. That's often a game a lot of people play. Oh, I'm committed. The fact is, I was truly committed. They thought it was a game. So then that's when the threats came and they thought I was playing a game and the threat. And again, they didn't use the word blacklist. I want to be clear, but it was heavily implied I would no longer be hired for anything on the parent network or any of their channels, which was one of the big ones that Les Moonves ran. And once that, you know, people don't understand. I was in my 30s, my career trajectory was up. You know, when someone tells you that, they strike the fear of God in you. And I was petrified. So I said yes. E understood that I could not, I had to back out of a commitment. I went back, and that's when I found out on the first day of set that not only someone who I was close with, who was also the executive producer of the show, chose to fully ignore me. That's why when the cameras rolled, I didn't even know what to do. And so the first time I speak, it's her trying to get me to speak because clearly I was just in utter shock.
Yeah.
And then the big question, it might be your next question. So sorry, Nick, if I'm jumping in. The next question that everyone asks, they're like, okay, so that was cycle 9, but didn't you leave at 18? Yes. What happened was I made my way through cycle 9, which was horrible. But ultimately, they asked me would I consider coming back if they promised me a safe environment and I wouldn't have to produce the photo shoots, just produce the final runways because that is a beast unto itself and I could do that for them. And the answer simply is, you know, I had already felt the ramifications of saying no. And at that time in my life, I was really struggling with being a people pleaser and making everyone happy. And I couldn't draw clear boundaries for myself. And I thought, I'll go back. I'll do the right thing. I'll cure everything. Everyone will be happy. But now as I sit here with years past in my own therapy and my own work, I realized you can't fix misalignment. And, but I didn't know that then.
Yeah, it's interesting how you kind of emphasize, they didn't say the word blacklist, but it sounds like they strongly implied that you would be burning bridges, so to speak, right? Because like, it's ultimately the same thing, but burning bridges is almost implied that we do that versus someone saying, I'm going to blacklist you.
Yeah.
And
they put it on you.
Yeah.
They put it on you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm curious. Another thing that's being heavily talked about is we come to find that Miss J had a stroke, and obviously very devastating, but Tyra did not visit and has not. And whether it's not visiting Miss J, not having that conversation with you, I'm sure you must have thought at times or at length. I mean, you seem to know her as well as anyone else, better than anyone else. And there's, listen, I think it's quick online. People like to throw out diagnoses and names for why people behave a certain way, Why do you think, they say time heals all wounds. Like, why do you think she has in no way made any attempt to mend those relationships, or at least not even if it's to be friends again, but to just say, hey, I'm sorry. If in any, I'm sorry
like
for
you
this.
at one point meant so much to me, and now our relationship is so strained. I just want to acknowledge, like, she just hasn't done any of that. Yeah, why do you think she hasn't?
I'll try and answer all of that, starting with the Miss J of it all. Miss J, when he first woke up out of his coma, I knew his niece, who is a nurse, who really ultimately saved his life to get the paramedics and ultimately get him to the hospital. But coming out of the coma, and he could not speak, but ultimately they were communicating with him, and she called me and said, my uncle wants to make sure that he sees you. Can you come to the hospital? He had just woken up. So I was like, absolutely. And, when do you want me there? And I was 3 days later, and she said, you'll have alone time with him. And that first day I spent 4 hours with Jay, and he was extremely frail and couldn't barely speak. And, obviously had lost use of the entire right side of his body. I didn't know if I was ever going to see him again, to be honest with you, because he had a large pocket of blood still on the brain. They could not drain for fear that it could kill him. And so felt so important for me to be there, because who Jay was, even through all our craziness and our antics and the show and the years and all that stuff, that was what he means to me. Is he gave me the permission when we first went on TV together. And I knew of Jay, but I only met him on the show in season 1. And I knew at that time there was no representation on TV when it comes to the LGBTQ plus community. And Jay being very flamboyant and out there, and me being openly gay, but not on television, I thought, you know what, I can lean on him. And together going forward, I was thinking, like, they can't attack us, but like, we can do this together. And this was pre-Queer Eye, and so for me, I will forever be indebted to him in some way, because it's just like he allowed me to be authentically myself on TV at a time when people were not used to seeing us on television. So start with that. That's why I went. What's not even clear in the documentary, and I'll clear it up right here, he had the stroke in 2022. Ken Mock actually reached out that year to Jay, which was shocking. I remember when Jay called me from the hospital and said, guess who reached out? I was like, wow, that, Ken went up a notch in my book, not Tyra. And that message that he references, that he got a message from her, that came only recently. And she's in New York all the time. So the fact that a couple of years even went by, he was in the hospital 1.5 years and just zero. That's really disappointing. It was hurtful. I felt Jay's pain. I hurt for him, truly.
You know her as well as anyone,
Oh, why do you think she does this?
Yeah,
ultimately?
why? It's just, we can all be stubborn. It's just this, like, to your point, it just seems like really hard to comprehend the lack of, I guess, humanity in her behavior.
And that's the right word, to be honest with you. We, outside of all of the craziness and television and the egos, everything put aside, we can be human with one another and express our humanness, really. That's the part that I think is most shocking. When it comes to me, I've let it go. I don't think I would ever get a call from her, and that's fine. That's fine. I'm fine with it, truly. I never want to ever put a label on people, and a lot of people know that I'm friends with Dr. Ramani, who speaks about, narcissistic abuse, etc. And I know a lot of people are throwing that word around. I would never do that. I'm not a licensed psychologist. But what I do know is that Tyra operates from an extreme level of pain. What no one's really calling out is there's a she would go on the Oprah show, and I was with her at the time, where she would go on the Oprah show and do these, different themed episodes, sometimes makeovers, but they've talked about some heavier topics. She did a show on bullying, and she said her brother used to bully her, and her brother, Devin, was sitting right there with her, and her mother was in the audience. No one's pulling up this clip. But she talks about how her brother bullied her, and ultimately she went into high school and became a bully herself. It's her own words. And a lot of that behavior comes from a place of pain. I know Tyra holds a lot of pain. That's why I honestly connected with her, because who I am, I always feel like I have to try, support people around their things, their issues. All my friends know that. But I've ultimately realized as an adult, that's not my job. To do that. But I connected with her on that place. And I really do think if she shares truly what she struggles with, people would understand her more. But all she does is lock it away in a vault.
That makes sense.
Oh, man. I mean, you're so generous with your time, Jay.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I'm curious for you, like, just try to make it a more positive of the show. Obviously, so much of this documentary is kind of poking holes in how this show was made. But what positive things do you think America's Next Top Model did for fashion, for the industry of modeling as a whole? And did we learn some at least good lessons of what not to do going forward?
There is a lot of good that came out of America's Next Top Model. And again, Tyra stepped into that with the best of intentions. She wanted to find the next top model, but she really wanted to show the behind the scenes of the industry, of which she really was in the trenches, and the behavior and how she was treated as a model would shock people. And the industry at that time, a lot of people got to know me from being on that show. That's a positive. That's why everything about this show for me ultimately allowed me to kind of grow in other directions. But I had a whole career in the industry well before the show came about. Like, I worked with all of the greats, from, Richard Avedon to Annie Leibovitz, Scavullo, shooting for Vogue and major ad campaigns. It was an amazing opportunity to kind of bring that experience to a show and start talking about what it is like from behind the scenes. And the industry has changed. The industry cannot get away with the behavior that it was historically known for, and the way they would treat girls, you coming in with their portfolio, flipping through, picking them apart. Yeah, no, just that kind of insensitivity doesn't exist on that level anymore. And that's mostly because, everyone has one of these. They got one of these. Everything is recorded and out there. And Top Model really opened up this dialogue of what was being said to these girls, and not just the models, but hair, makeup. Anyone who's a part of the industry was experiencing that culture. So it has shifted quite a bit.
How was it for you watching the photo shoot with Kenya back, where she spoke up about, hey, this guy's making me uncomfortable?
Watching it play in the doc, I think it was so important to have Kenya sit there and express how she felt through that. I love that she was part of the doc. I remember that day, and I even remember watching the episode for the first time. I didn't know what was going on in hair and makeup. First of all, that he was hitting on her, because I was setting up a shoot and then shooting with the other girls. So I didn't know what was going on. And again, in shooting the other girls, they did the exact same shoot. These three guys danced around them. They were touching the girls and dancing. And I had shot many shoots even with Tyra that were very sexy and or kind of creating a very intimate situation. So I'm thinking, we're just creating this illusion. However, when Kenya stopped the photo shoot, my response, which I stand up to address her, I'm like, what's going on? I wish I could have drawn a better boundary and with production, meaning the production of Top Model covering this, because that was ultimately my job there to create a safe space for her. And I should have understood a little more of what was going on. However, at that time, I always felt this allegiance to production. They were constantly poking in my ear. Like I couldn't just love girls on set. I had to have a negative. If I loved someone's performance, they literally forced me to say something negative or that they had to work on. And so I was looking around, like, you can even see it in the episode. I'm looking around like because there's a director on set. I'm like, do I let this happen? Do I stop it? Like, what do I do? I was all equally confused in the moment because I couldn't see anything that seemed untoward. However, I should have taken her at her word, and I should have drawn that line with production. And then if production or the powers that be, Ken and Tyra, had gotten upset with me for stopping and breaking the fourth wall of the reality show, I should have taken my lashes, because ultimately the most important person was Kenya in that moment and her comfortability. And yes, I wish I could have drawn that line.
Thank you for saying that.
Thank you for saying that and acknowledging that.
Yeah.
I think, which is like, I think watching this doc, what I think a lot of the fans who are watching it through this lens are just kind of hoping. And so it's been really great to hear you. And
you also were vocal about feeling very uncomfortable with the race swap photo shoot, but ultimately still did it. What were those conversations kind of backstage behind the scenes that you had with production about that?
So up until cycle 4, literally the photo shoot creative, it was me and Tyra having a private conversation, usually lying around in my house. And I would say, okay, what shoot have you done? Because we wanted it rooted in something she has done. And that's what we did in those early cycles. By the time we go to season 4, because in cycle 3, CoverGirl came on board, and that was myself and our co-EP pitching them to bring them on as one of the sponsors. So now the stakes were higher in cycle 4. So the photo shoot creative was a meeting with a group of people: Ken, Tyra, myself, the co-EPs, the line producer, 2 line producers. And we sat there and we talked through the creative. So the first time I heard about this race swapping photo shoot was in a meeting. And Tyra brought it up and she explained why she wanted to do it. And it was for the empowerment for women of color. I'll be honest with you, Ken Mock's reaction initially was like, oh my God, do you want to go there? He was equally as shocked, but only he could really speak to her about it. Now, as much as she valued my opinion, I wouldn't dare put her on the spot in a work environment. But walking out of that meeting, I immediately pulled my co-EP at the time, Anthony Dominici, and I said to him, there is no way I can do this shoot. Can you please go to Ken and Tyra separately and say, we're going to write in a storyline where I'm not there? Because as I mentioned in the doc, and I'm glad it made there, a lot of people assume by my last name I'm Spanish, but I'm actually biracial. My parents are from South Africa. My extended family is in South Africa, and my parents grew up under apartheid. And I just like the thought of that we are going to switch races and paint white models to look black. I just could not comprehend how I could stand there and deliver this. And I thought if there was a shoot Tyra could show up on and stand next to me and deliver that creative with, it would be that. But she said no. Then there was another meeting. It was Ken, Tyra, Anthony Dominici, and myself. And Tyra swore up and down. She was, Jay, you will not wear this. I will clearly state in judging that this was my idea and why I am doing this. But you have to go to work. It was not a choice. You have to show up and you have to do your job. I thought about calling in sick that day, just so you know, but there were no sick days on Top Model, and I knew I would get in a lot of trouble. So I went, and I was extremely uncomfortable. But what reporters cut out is if you end that photo shoot. Right after the photo shoot, it goes right into judging. Tyra opens the judging, clearly stating this was my idea. I wanted to do this for the empowerment of women of color. But every journalist, every clip that gets run everywhere doesn't include Tyra's explanation, which is 6 minutes later, roughly.
Yeah.
But I'm the one standing there delivering that creative. So it just followed me.
Yeah.
I've had people write me, you're disgusting. You wanted to, paint women black and blah, blah, blah. But no one knows the real story. They don't know what I went through and kind of that hell I went through.
Man.
Wow.
A lot of last question, and then we can let you go. A lot
good.
of people. Good. I'm out of here.
I'm good. Meaning, we keep talking.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, good.
I
Okay,
do
good.
have a couple more, but on the lighter side.
Okay.
A lot of people obviously are seeing Tyra not take this accountability, kind of say like, oh, I wasn't in charge there. I'm not the head of creative there. And then when the credits roll, it's executive producer Tyra Banks, and it's like, clearly you do have a lot of control. Why not just say that?
Well, my response actually is the receipts are in the doc, and all the kids online, which I am surprised, have clipped it together appropriately. They're doing their own investigative journalism, which I love. In the doc, we see Tyra on her talk show, forcing Shandy to watch this clip that she says she does not want to watch. And we're talking about sexual assault ultimately, and she's forcing her to watch it. That in itself is a whole other show. And then she brings Shandy back a second time to watch it. And so I believe in the documentary, they show both clips of Tyra's talk show. If not, the kids online have put all the clips together where Tyra specifically says, in her own words on her own talk show, I've watched this 1,000 times. I was in the editing room editing this scene, blah, blah, blah. Her own words have incriminated her and everyone can see it. So I don't have to say it. I don't have to confirm it. Her own words ultimately confirms, because I was there. She was involved heavily with the edits with Ken. And so much so that episode, Tyra was in New York. And at that time, they would send physical screeners. Tyra was at my home. No one knows this, by the way, because no one's asked me this. So you guys are getting the scoop. I actually screened that episode with Shandy with Tyra for the first time, the final edit of the locked episode that was going to air. We watched it and she approved it and it was locked. Then the Super Bowl happened that weekend with Janet Jackson and Justin Timberlake. And immediately there was a clampdown, because that was also on CBS and that's our parent company. And they were like, we're changing. Immediately we're clamping down. And they forced Ken and Tyra to re-edit the episode. And that's what people don't know. What was originally cut for that episode was worse.
Wow.
And so what you guys actually saw was the re-edited version. But again, Tyra's own words on her own talk show. I've watched it 1,000 times. I was in the room editing that scene. You can hear the words come from her mouth. And everyone is playing that clip now. And it's unfortunate then that Tyra probably forgot she said this on her talk show.
Yeah.
And so, she's sitting there and even when she starts off like, Shandy, yeah, like that, she knows exactly who.
I was gonna.
About.
When they asked, they were like, "Can we talk about the Shandy story?" And she was like, "Shandy." They're like, "Do you remember?" And she's like, "I think so." It's like, it's just so heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One more question about Tyra, and then recently, I don't know if it was after or right before the doc came out, Tyra announced that America's Next Top Model is coming back, or maybe it's already in production. Do you know that to be true?
Well, I know that Tyra loves to speak things into existence. She did it with America's Next Top Model Cycle 1. My understanding is how the press started that story the week before the doc came out, because the press were able to screen the entire episode for the interviews that we were all doing. So, sorry, the entire documentary. So obviously Tyra says it in the doc. So that kind of line of Tyra's bringing back 25 ran a few days before from the doc. It wasn't a confirmation, is my understanding. What I do know for a fact because I know who she met with. I'll say that. She's trying to pitch it right now, as in the last few weeks. She thought, oh, on the heels of Netflix and I'll pitch it and someone will. But is it in production? Oh, absolutely not. That's not in production.
Would you participate in the show if it were to come back?
What do you think? I love saying that to you.
I know you do. I'm like...
First of all, I will be honest with you. I think I would be the absolute last phone call that they would ever, if they were in charge of the show. I know Nigel feels that strongly, that the only way they could do it is if the three of us were there. You know, even as a producer myself, because I've produced on other things, and as I was a producer initially on this show, the only way I would be able to come back from even just a production standpoint is I would have to fairly produce my shoots if I went back in the same role and actually, hand forward, the girls' best shots and let them duke it out in that regard, in a fair way. Even after I had gone back after that cycle 9 and I wasn't producing anymore, I had to still select 25 photos for Tyra to look at. And then Tyra just wanted to look at all of the film. Now, because I'm there, I see it all. So the girls, they suspected the worst, bad photos were being selected for them. I can confirm that. Absolutely. They were doing it for storyline in those later seasons. They would pick horrible photos and the girls had better photos in their film. For sure. For sure.
Mm-hmm. There is, I guess, another documentary coming out on Hulu. I know Lisa is involved in it. Mm-hmm. I don't remember exactly what cycle she's on. What do you think of that?
I don't know anything about it at all. My understanding is it's like a 1-hour piece, part of a series. Lisa has really struggled with a lot of the blowback from fans and what people have said to her face in the streets, which is horrible. Mm-hmm. And I do believe, and there are other girls involved in this, people should have their voices heard. I just always encourage people to kind of speak their truth and not tear down, because truth leads, and that's what rises up. And, even within my interviews and even sitting and talking with you guys, I don't believe Tyra should be vilified. I think we should have a conversation, and this is not an opportunity to tear down anyone. Mm-hmm. I just hope that because their stories are so valid, I just hope that documentary handles their stories with care and doesn't turn it into something salacious and tear downish, because ultimately they won't wear that well, Yeah.
I guess what you and Nigel and Miss J brought to this documentary was just, I guess, grace in a way to say, yes, we were involved in this. Yes, there were moments that are regretful. There's probably a lot of explanations of why some of this why this happened, so many decision makers. But, I think people went in, a lot of its fans, wanting to feel good about it, and wanting to feel good about you guys, because I think so many fans truly loved all of you who made this show. And I think that's where the frustration comes with Tyra, where it's like, really? It's like, that's what you gave? Because I don't think a lot of people went in wanting to chastise any of you, and even Tyra. And I think they were just hoping for, a little humanity and a little grace on her part.
Yeah, it really is unfortunate, because again, like I said, I think if Tyra had brought the vulnerable woman that I know and that I've had those conversations with, there is that beautiful person inside underneath all of that pain. I can tell you that. Trust me. I just wish she'd shared it with everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You guys kind of covered it, but I was just kind of thinking it's really interesting how we watch the show. I watched it growing up, huge fan, and you don't really realize how it impacts you. And then obviously people started rewatching it in 2020. I'm curious, when the rewatch started happening, people were judging it through a 2020 lens, totally different, which obviously half the things that happened wouldn't fly today or in 2020. When it was resurfacing, did you have this gut feeling of oh my gosh, we have to do something to set the record straight? Not even set the record straight, but to acknowledge that we realize what we've done, or we see where we should have done something different? And were you excited for the opportunity to have this Netflix doc to kind of set the record straight and have your voice heard. Because even in talking to you here and hearing you on the documentary, it's like, oh wow, there's so much more context to your experience, and it's.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of people are, like myself included, I feel like you're still being so kind towards Tyra, who it feels like hasn't really taken the accountability. And it feels like in a lot of ways, it seems like you have kind of acknowledged some wrongdoings, and it's really beautiful. Because yeah, watching it as a kid, I didn't even realize what I was watching half the time was probably not the best thing to be consuming.
Well, in 2020, what, again, people learned in May of 2020, which it was not planned at all. I had been writing my novel, which was inspired by my life behind the scenes of, America's Next Top Model. My novel takes place, behind the scenes of a fictitious modeling competition called Model Muse with a host, Keisha Cash. And so I had been working on this novel for quite some time. I did not have a ghostwriter. I wrote it myself and had a great writing mentor that helped me polish it every draft. But ultimately, my book was slated to be published in 2020, well before the pandemic hit. We didn't know. And then the pandemic hit and, people were rewatching Model and my publishers were like, we're still going to release it this summer. And so we went, and Variety actually had the exclusive to announce my book in May. And Elizabeth Wagmeister did an interview with me and they released it with the cover of my book. And that article went like wildfire around the world because everyone was locked in their home. They saw this and they're like, oh my gosh. And they're thinking this, well, they were comparing it to Devil Wears Prada and blah, blah, blah. And this is a behind the scenes and it's a novel, but is there truth in it? And so ultimately that happened. And then I felt, okay, people are watching the show. Again, I do need to do something. So we were all in our homes and I started doing these lives, which we called Jay's Chat, which I started off with Miss J and then ultimately started doing it with different girls from the cycles or winners every week. I did one a week. I did a season every week. So I did 18 of these lives for 18 weeks straight. And that was the first time someone had actually given the girls a platform to speak. Wow. And then I believe it's Oliver Twixt, because he was a fan, he was watching, and I did a live with him. He took over once I stopped. He was like, I'm going to do more of these and have the girls on my live channel and do it on YouTube. And that's when giving the girls a platform to speak started, and it felt right at the time. So I was already in that space because my book, and by the way, there was an author who said this on Oprah's book club once, and I can't remember who said it first, but Oprah herself has repeated this. It says, every novel is really a memoir. Every memoir is really a novel. If you want to learn the most about a person, read their novel.
Ooh,
because,
that's interesting.
how many times have you read a memoir and you're like, did it really happen that way? But then you read a novel, which is fiction, and go, ooh, it feels like there's more truth on the page, which truth does tend to bleed onto the page when you're writing a novel. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Jay, just final question. If you had a message for the America's Next Top Model audience, what would be that message as they finish and watch this doc?
My message for fans and for all of the girls who participated and hopefully at some point, a lot of these producers and directors who still work in the industry and are afraid to speak, my message would be to continue the dialogue, continue the conversation. I feel like I've said what I've needed to say, and I'm grateful for platforms like this to do interviews, but I feel that the real discussion needs to continue with everyone, and use your voices and then continue the discussion.
Jay, we really appreciate you taking the time. It's really been a pleasure to have this conversation with you, and thank you for being so gracious and just so open about your experiences.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank
you,
Jay.
Take care.
Bye.
All right, take care.
All right, bye-bye. Fascinating conversation. I mean, and he seems so sweet and so gracious.
So gracious.
Yeah.
So honest.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. I think it reminds you that just at the end of the day, obviously a lot of things happen publicly and people have strong opinions on that because it does affect, it affects people. Like America's Next Top Model affected people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the people that did it are still people.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's just like complicated. And so,
and also like
yeah.
what happened behind closed doors
Exactly.
and in
Mhm.
privacy, you know, like the things that weren't aired, like the conversation he had, you know, with the producers about the race swapping, being
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
hey, I don't want to be a part of this. And it's still,
Right.
And
you know, so, and of course, like no one saw that. So then everyone just tore him apart and like he just sat silent for all these years.
Right.
Like taking all the heat, knowing that like he knew it was wrong. He tried to get out of it. He tried to use his voice and the people above him shot him down.
yeah.
Mhm.
Up next, we have Monique Samuel from Real Housewives of Potomac to help us unpack Reunion Part 1. Financial resolutions are great, but let's be real. Budgets don't reset on January 1st. Between post-holiday credit card bills and getting back to your regular routine, cash is tight. And that's why there's upside. I don't care who you are. Everyone can benefit from a little cash back. And that's why we love Upside. Upside is now part of our routine. Anytime we go to fill up our tank or grab some groceries, we check the Upside app first to see where we can earn the most cash back, because it's always fun to see how much free money you can get. The free Upside app gets you cash back on gas, groceries, and dining. The first three things draining your wallet right now. Over 100,000 participating locations means cashback opportunities are everywhere you already go. And yes, it's cash back, not points you'll never use, not credits that expire, money that transfers straight to your account. And it really is amazing how many partners are participating. We didn't have to change our routine. We just kept doing what we were doing, and it was amazing how much cash back we earn. You'll earn 3 times more cash back with Upside than with loyalty programs or credit card rewards alone. Users earn $1 million in cash back every single week, and unlike other programs, you can stack Upside with your existing credit card and loyalty rewards. Upside has given back $1 billion to its users. To find out how much you can earn, download the free Upside app and use promo code VIALL to get an extra 25 cents back for every gallon on your first tank of gas. That's an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas using promo code VIALL.
Well, you know, chlorophyll is responsible for how plants harness the power of the sun, and now you can enjoy a gentle but powerful daily detox with chlorophyll stick packs from Nature's Sunshine. They're convenient, on-the-go way to support your gut health with a gentle daily detox to help your body feel light and balanced. It's easy to mix and a simple way to incorporate a daily detox to feel lighter, more energized, and more regular. Plus, it comes in refreshing flavors like lime, apple, or melon. It is so easy to work into your day. You can tear one open in the morning and mix it with water while you're getting ready, or sometimes sip it mid-afternoon when you need a little reset. They're perfect for travel because they help you stay regulated and keep your digestion on track. They freshen from the inside out, aids in detox and digestion, and provides antioxidant support. There's no sugar, artificial sweeteners, colors, or fillers, and it's backed by decades of herbal expertise and Chlorophyll's long wellness history, over 16,000 5-star reviews. Get a daily detox with Chlorophyll stick packs. Nature's Sunshine is offering 20% off your first order plus free shipping. Go to naturesunshine.com and use the code VIALL at checkout. That's code VIALL at naturesunshine.com.
Monique, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So good to be with you. Very excited to have you. It's really been a joy seeing you back on our screen. And it feels like, I mean, you kind of referenced it, but you seem like a breath of fresh air. You seem lighter. It feels like a whole new you. Is that how it feels to you?
It does. It does. It's refreshing to be able to, ever since I started reality TV, my concept was, let me just be me and show all of me. And when you are trying to protect so many different people around you, it's hard to do that. Mm-hmm. So this time I'm like, look, I'm single. I'm like, I ain't got nobody to protect. I got nothing to worry about. I can just go on and be me and accept my truth, be who I am. And it's been very refreshing. It's been nice.
We certainly have a lot of questions about this season, but before we dive into that, I'm just curious from your perspective, like this, reflecting back on just your overall journey on TV, like what's one thing that going in to reality TV that you were certain you believed or thought, and now as you stand here today, your perspective has completely changed?
Oh my goodness. You are, I guess going in, I thought that if I can give the story that I want to be shown, that's what's going to be shown.
Okay. That's a tough lesson to learn, huh?
Oh my God. And it's like, now it's just like, okay, well, whatever. I'm just going to be me. I learned it after the first season, after watching the first season. I was like, oh, okay. Now I
Mhm.
see why these questions were being asked. Now I see, like, it was so just like, oh, I get it now. But even with knowing that, you have to be able to really know yourself and accept yourself and be okay with all of the things that are going on in your surroundings if you're doing reality TV. Like, you can't have you can't be defensive. You can't, keep certain dynamics hidden, because it's like production and this network has been doing this for a very long time. The areas that you are defensive, they're like, ooh, let's go deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you expect to come in this season and have your ex-husband be such a topic of conversation?
No. I really thought that it was going to be about me just talking about my book, my journey, and also just like seeing where the other ladies stand. The only person I've really been talking to is Ashley. So it was like filling everybody out, meeting the new women, seeing what's going on.
Mhm.
I had no idea that was going to be the thing. And I was just like, it put me in an uncomfortable position because I didn't want to talk about him. But apparently he's been around these ladies and he's been all up in the mix, even when I haven't been. And I'm like, this is like not what I thought.
Yeah.
I forgot what you said specifically. I think it was to Stacy, because she was the one who dated him. But I really respected how you did it, because you towed a very fine line. And you were basically like, listen, there's a reason why I left. I don't want to get into more.
Right.
But kind of like, watch yourself. And it was like perfectly, you really found that kind of gap of like not sounding resentful or bitter, but like you sounded like a true friend. And I'm just curious, that must have been, like, separation's hard, divorce is hard, winning is like something we always want to feel when we leave these relationships.
Yeah.
Did you have to get to a place to be able to answer or say something like that in such a emotionally like mature way, because I feel like that would be difficult for a lot of us.
Yeah. So the interesting thing about going through a divorce is that you really get to see who you were married to. A lot of times you don't get to see who you were married to while you're in the marriage, because either you have this mask, they have a mask, you have this illusion you want to maintain, and anything that goes against that illusion, you just, you strike it down. You don't pay attention to it. But once you're out of the marriage, there's no need to have to exist together anymore. So then that's when the mask comes all the way off. And then you're like, whoa, that's what I was married to all this time. So my warning to Stacy in that moment was, I don't know what's going on with y'all, nor do I care. But my main concern is like, my life is my life and I want it to stay that way. The details of my life is none of his business anymore. And if y'all are cordial, friendly, whatever, that's fine. But I just want to make sure that when I'm having conversations with you and the group, that they remain our conversations. And I also told her, just watch who you're talking to and who you are being cool with, because when that mask comes off, it's a whole different story.
Yeah, well said. So you are on part 2 of the reunion. Did you watch part 1?
I didn't. I haven't had time. Me and my daughter have been having one-on-one time the past few days. And when I tell you, it's been so nice to just disconnect.
I bet, yeah.
So I haven't watched it yet. I'm going to watch it probably tonight.
No worries at all. Well, I think you can still speak on this, but no worries if you can't. But Natalie and I were watching it, and it was, I guess, I'm not a lawyer, but I was a little surprised just how available Wendy is to talk about her court case and her legal problems. Because, you always hear that whatever you say can be held against you in a court of law.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just curious, how have you ladies, knowing Wendy as well as you do, just kind of processed this whole situation? Because certainly it affects the group.
I honestly feel like she's been handling it rather well. Because she hasn't really spoken much about it. The most I've heard her talk about it was at the reunion. And a lot of what's happening is what we're hearing the prosecution put out.
Okay.
Like it's almost like they're trying to paint her as guilty without her even being able to tell her side. And there's always another side to the story, right? So I just feel like based on what she knows and believes has happened versus what they're putting out to make it so salacious and so like, over dramatizing everything, even from the press conference that they had. I think she's doing a good job. I do. I do not feel as though it's up to us to judge what really happened. I mean, we got to really just sit out and watch everything play out. And that's been my mindset is I just want to be supportive for her because guilty or not, it's stressful what she's going through. So I remember when Candace pressed charges against me and I had to hire an attorney. And I knew what happened. I knew exactly all the details of the fight. I knew how it happened, how it escalated, but it was still stressful having to go through that process, having to hire an attorney, having to show up at court. It was so stressful. And I knew that it was going to get, the charges would be dropped regardless. But even going through it, the amount of stress, just navigating that, so I feel like she's doing the best that she can. And she's also trying to give some of the information without sounding like she's trying to testify in the court of the public and put too many details out, before this even sees a courtroom,
Yeah, for sure. Well, I appreciate your perspective on that. What are your thoughts on Angel? Obviously, both of you ladies, she's a WAG, you've been a WAG. I'm curious, do you feel like you were trying to connect with her and then she just kind of shut you down, and how do you just kind of overall feel about Angel's time this season?
When I first met Angel and I was sharing a lot of my experience when we were at the lunch after Pride, she was the one that came up to me after I was done talking, saying like, oh my God, we have so much in common. I would really love to talk to you so I can navigate this whole situation better. And even I spoke about just NFL players in general and how there's this image that they have to uphold, as a player. That's just like a common thing in NFL. And she could relate to that. So I didn't know to what degree she could relate to it, but that was the conversation. We didn't have much conversation after that. I didn't see her again until the sip and read. And that's when I started hearing more about, how her husband didn't want to come to the event and he kind of snapped at the ladies. And there was this whole behind the scenes thing that happened with production and her and him and going off on production. It was just like a mess. So as I'm hearing all of this, I'm being reminded of some of the things I dealt with. But most importantly, I was looking at her as a woman and I'm just like, hey, outside of everything else, I feel like you are doing a lot and you're doing a lot on your own. And if you're in need of help, don't be afraid to ask. I've been in that position and I didn't have anyone approach me without judgment. I felt like it was like always judgment or always trying to like pick me apart versus somebody just coming with pure concern and saying, hey, you seem a little tapped out. And I know you have a lot going on, but you shouldn't be doing all of this by yourself. And that's simply what I was trying to do, was come to her in a place of like love and concern. And I don't want to see you go down the road I went down. So it wasn't necessarily like me trying to come for her marriage, like all of that nonsense. That's not even who I am. I've never been that person to just be coming for somebody without cause. I genuinely just wanted to make sure she was good, So I feel like just like any newbie, she had a first season where the women are going to make comments. They're going to joke. They're going to try to trigger you. I went through it too. Like the first time I met Giselle, she's like, oh, you don't have a home? Like, but the thing is, it's like, you can't take all of these comments to heart and be so angry about every little thing that's said. It's like, this is Housewives. This is a part of the recipe for making a very entertaining show, So I just feel like she was taking a lot to heart. And that made it even harder for her, So the women are going to keep going at you if you show that, you're being triggered.
Who are you happiest to reconnect with this season?
I feel like Wendy. I mean, obviously Ashley, because we've been connected, but out of everybody, I've been really happy to reconnect with Wendy. Because when her and I met, we hit it off like right from the start. We had so much in common and we were just like, it was just like sister girl, But then that season, everything went left. And then her and I never really were able to continue to develop that friendship. So to go back into it, to feel the warm welcome, so to speak, and for us to sit down and then find that same chemistry again and kind of pick up where we left off, it was really nice. Like I really enjoyed sitting with her and talking with her and still continuing, like getting together with her, even, while we're not filming, has been nice as well.
Oh, love.
Has it been nice to see the Grand Dame back on part of the group?
Yes. So at the reunion, I did get to see her. We haven't been able to connect just yet, but I was very happy to see her, to see that final episode of her opening up and being so vulnerable. I think I know some people have whatever they want to say about the sit down, but what people need to remember is this is Karen who we're talking about. Karen has put up walls. She has not been as vulnerable as some of the other ladies. She's been alone on the island. She doesn't mind fighting and snapping back at you and getting you together. But for her to sit down and to show that level of vulnerability for her is huge. And I was very proud of her.
Yeah.
I mean, the critics will critic, but I enjoyed that sit down. And it to your point, it felt like it was the most we've gotten to see of that side of Karen, I feel like. And maybe this is the beginning of her growth, but I mean, it's like a lot of people wanted to see like a final product, and it's like she literally just got out.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, she's still going through her healing phase, her journey. And, I think people just want so much when they see people on TV. They want more and more and more. And it's like, just pause and just like, let's just sit with this right now and enjoy it.
Yeah. I can't keep track of what's a real news in Bravo world or what's a rumor. So maybe I'm wrong, but was it been reported that Angel is not coming back next season? Is that accurate?
Honestly, I've not been on social hardly. So I'm not the one for the tea.
Justin and Dev,
is that confirmed?
I don't believe anything confirmed. I think people are just
rumors,
thinking after the season finale that it doesn't make sense.
What does your gut tell you, Monique, whether Angel will decide to return, or do you think she has what it takes to continue her journey as a housewife?
I think she does. And I think she should come back. I think she just announced that she bought a house in Potomac. So, she has the ingredients for being a housewife of Potomac. More so than some of the ladies.
Okay. More so than who?
She's married. She's a housewife. You know what I'm saying? She lives in Potomac. So there's a lot of people. For me,
it's giving Ashley Darby shade.
No, I would never.
No.
Everybody on the show who's not married and live in Potomac shade.
Okay. All right.
Me, including me. I don't live in Potomac anymore.
Oh, there we go.
Hey, it is what it is.
Are you in the camp of Stacey is a little bit or a lot of bit of a fibber?
With Stacey, I don't necessarily think that she lies about everything. I think that she doesn't defend every lie that they're accusing her of. And that's what makes her come off as, oh, you're always lying. Because Stacey don't care. She doesn't care about defending herself. If you come at her with anything, she's just looking at you like, okay, like, so, but I think that's why she's such good reality TV gold too, because she doesn't take to heart everything. Like if you look at her and then look at Angel, they're complete opposites of each other.
Yeah.
I'm saying like Angel gets defensive. Stacey just lets it run off her shoulder. Like she doesn't care. So I think because she's not coming with such conviction and emotion, they think like, oh, she must be lying,
that makes sense.
Is she forthcoming with everything? I don't think she's forthcoming with everything, but I also don't think that she's lying about everything either,
Yeah.
So what can we expect from you on part 2 of the reunion?
So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be good.
That's a great answer.
Yes, it's going to be good. I have used a little bit of technology versus a binder this time. And I didn't have to come with a whole bookload of receipts. I just came with one that was very impactful and it gagged everybody. And the audience will be gagged as well.
Is there any air you hope to clear up either with the fans or your castmates going into next season?
I don't think so. Did I do anything wrong?
No.
I was, you never know. Yeah, no, you were very charming this season.
Yeah.
It was like they let me live my life this season.
Yeah. To that end, are you kind of comfortable with the role that you're playing with this group, or are you hopeful that we might get a chance to see more of you and maybe solidify your spot as a housewife in future seasons?
I'm not sure. I really enjoyed the friendship role. It was very easy. It was flexible, especially for where I am in life with my children and co-parenting and everything. So that was really nice. And it was also nice to just kind of like put my pinky toe in the pool and just see what's going on. I'm open and, I'm open to the discussion and we'll see what works.
Okay.
What works without me feeling like it's too much,
Have you had any conversations with your ex just about how much he was talked about in this season?
He wouldn't talk to me about that. We don't talk.
Okay.
We do not talk. We ain't on that picture at all.
And then one final question. Are you watching Traitors?
I haven't watched Traitors in a couple seasons. I think, you know what? I watched Traitors when Phaedra was on.
Okay.
And I don't feel like anybody can compare to what she did. And I haven't watched recently.
I'm curious, have you seen like the commentary online about Candace being a traitor and whether you think, from what you've seen on Traitors, do you think she would make a good traitor?
I think she would be an excellent traitor.
Okay.
I think that aligned with her. I haven't seen what people have been saying. I haven't been keeping up at all. Like when I tell you, I'm like, if I'm on Instagram or social media, it's just to post some stories and hop off.
I love it.
Monique, you are an absolute delight. We really appreciate you taking the time. We hope to see more of you, and you really just seem like a good one. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and it's been really fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate y'all as well.
All right,
Thank you,
care,
Monique.
All right, you too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Well, thank you to all of our guests, Monique Samuels, Ashley from Love is Blind, and Jay Manuel.
We appreciate you all listening, and we will be back next week. Hey guys, if you loved what you listened to, make sure you hit that subscribe button below. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.